Yo, what's poppin', ladies and gentlemen? Today, full card predictions for UFC 308. First things first, no webcam, of course, so you don't get to see my beautiful, handsome face. Unfortunately, it is 2 a.m. and yeah, I'm not looking the best. But jokes aside, I super duper appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. I've got literally hundreds of comments, hundreds of altogether, probably got hundreds of comments and bunch of DMs just saying really, really nice things. And yeah, I'm super duper grateful for all the support. And when you get support like that, you know, you can't abandon the community you built. But yeah, once again, say it again, super duper appreciate all the support. I wasn't gonna quit betting just because I built up a bankroll over the years, and I've got I've got like a solid network of guys that I can rely on, especially my right hand man, BJ Pen 85. Shout out to you. And worst case scenario, they'll just be giving me bets. Plus, I've built like an AI system for breaking down fights. Obviously, AI is cool in that, but at the end of the day, you need someone behind a wheel to kind of manage the process. You can't just fully rely on it. But I've got to say, man, I mean, it is pretty solid, pretty scary how good AI is getting. But at the end of the day, you still need that human element. And yeah, without further ado, let's get into the breakdowns. And thank you once again for all the support. It really, really does mean a lot. But sorry about no webcam. Anyway, so first fight, short notice fight here. We got Renato versus Carlos Leal. So this fight here, obviously, short notice fight for Carlos, which is obviously, it's already an uphill battle, right? Not many guys on short notice tend to win. Statistically, now, Leal, he's a southpaw striker. He looks to use his length and he looks to use his range. And I'll say he's like a competent striker. I think his striking looks decent. Now, when it comes to Renat's mainly a grappler. He's got good wrestling, takedown entries, good grappling control, solid offensive wrestler and grappler. I don't think he's elite, but I don't think he's terrible either. On the feet, he'll throw hard, he'll throw heavy hands, but his striking is mainly used to set up the wrestling. Sorry, I need coffee. Excuse me. Did tie against Zaleski, which I don't like. Got 10-8'd. Now, I'm going to pick Renato here. Low to medium level confidence. I just think Renato's wrestling and grappling are the key to him winning this matchup. I think, even though Leal's probably the more dangerous striker, I just think Renato's relentless pressure and top control and the grappling is just going to enable him to eventually grind out a decision, if not get a potential finish. So, yeah, Renato's going to be the pick, low to medium level confidence. Next fight here, we got Ismail Naurdiev versus Bruno Silva. Wow. Now, this fight, we'll start off with Naurdiev. So Naurdiev, he was once he was once in the UFC. He had quite a lot of hype on him. I remember back then, Austrian Wonder Boy, people quite big on him, pretty high on him. He's mainly a striker. He's got like a good kickboxing style of striking. I say it's decent at kickboxing. But obviously, there's some things that concern me about Naurdiev. First of all, this fight's at 185. He's a natural 170er. I also thought him getting a call up back into UFC was kind of funny because he finished some Adrian Journeyman in his retirement fight. And then before that, he got finished in his 2 matchups in round 1. And, he still seems to have the same issues that plagued him inside the UFC all those years back, slowing down as the fight progresses. Pretty hittable. I don't even really entirely trust his chin. Now, Bruno Silva, at one point I was really, really quite big on this guy. I just thought he had something really going for him. But ever since that Alex Pereira fight, he's just not been the same fighter. He's definitely on the decline. His chin's going. He just looks like he's old. He looks like he's washed. He doesn't look like he has that kind of fire in him anymore. I think that AP fight, Alex Pereira fight, really, really took something out of him. But when it comes to striking, he's mainly got a boxing style of striking. He's pretty limited in his game, but boxing power strikes. That's his style. That's his game. If taken down, he is weak on his back. Now, this fight's pretty tricky. There's a lot of fight dynamics going on. So, first dynamic here, that is that, in my opinion, Bruno could just be completely washed, completely done. And Naurdiev just makes easy work for him. You know, I could see another scenario where Naurdiev just kind of outstrikes him. Clean, smooth victory while avoiding the big bombs from Bruno Silva. And I think maybe Naurdiev could possibly mix up some wrestling, mix up some grappling. But another scenario I could see happening is Bruno Silva just dog this one out, has a little bit left in the tank. Maybe he's on some steroids and lands a knockout shot on Naurdiev. You know, because Silva's a bigger underdog, like a moderate underdog, I'm going to pick him. I don't say with overwhelming amount of confidence. I don't know if I even want to bet it, just because there's a good chance that Bruno is just beyond wash. You get Naurdiev, the much younger, fresher fighter, so it could just be an easy night in the office for Naurdiev. But I'm just not too big. I'm not too convinced on Naurdiev here, so I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go against the market, and I'm going to pick Bruno Silva, but I don't say it with a overwhelming amount of confidence, because Bruno Silva could just be completely done, wash. But hopefully he's on some Brazilian steroids, and, you know, he can pull one more out of the tank. All right. Oh. Next fight here, we got Farid Basharat versus Victor Hugo. I think this Basharat guy, or Basharat kid, as Dana would say, is I think he's really good. I think he's got something there. Just, I love his takedowns. I love his entries. I like how he just will consistently shoot, wrestle hard. He can strike a bit as well. And to me, that Basharat, this Farid Basharat kid, has just that, like, it factor for me. So, yeah, polished striker, excellent grappling, pushes relentless pace. Just a lot of things that I really like. Good control. Yeah, just overall pretty high on Basharat. Now, so obviously the pick's going to be Basharat here. High confidence. I just think the grappling is going to be too much. And I just think Basharat has something special. And I rightfully do believe that he is a big favourite. And I just believe he's just a better fighter everywhere. So, yeah, when it comes to the striking and the grappling. So, Basharat's going to be the pick. Next fight here, we got Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Chris Barnett. Now, Chris Barnett, cool guy, good guy. Got like quite a unique style for a heavyweight. You know, you throw a lot of spinning kicks, etc. Now, Kennedy, he's a good athlete. He's got some talent, good striker. There's something there, but I just don't trust the chin. Now, this fight here, I have to pick Kennedy here. Moderate to high confidence, but I can't bet Kennedy at odds of 1.11 because I don't trust his chin. And yeah, normally I'll probably be rooting for Chris Barnett, but because he seems like a really cool guy. Just what Kennedy's gone through with his mum, you know, I can't root against him ever. But at the same time, I don't want to be putting money on Kennedy. I don't trust his chin, and this guy is prone to making errors, making mistakes. But this is a very favourable matchup for him. He's so much taller than Barnett. What is 6'5" versus 5'9". He's got 83-inch reach, and he's a much more technical, clean, precise striker. So Kennedy is going to be the pick, but I can't bet him. Next fight here, we got Magomedov versus Bruno Ferreira. This is one of the most intriguing matchups on the card. One of the best fights on the card, in my opinion. Now, Abus, he's had a couple of fights where he's gone all out for the kill, gassed himself out, like against Strickland. Mainly a striker. He's not bad. He's not a bad fighter. He does have some pretty clean kickboxing, I would say. I especially like his straight shots, and I really like his teep. I think he has a really good teep game. Obviously, the issue with him is him pacing himself. Bruno Ferreira, on the other hand, his switch stances is explosive, very explosive. Has a high guard, you know, very powerful, explosive, powerhouse of a fighter. Good striking, boxing fundamentals, in my opinion. Looks to have heavy hands, as mentioned. Now, against Dustin Solfus kind of, he did get the finish. I did like what I saw from there, but he looked like there was signs of him slowing down. And we haven't really seen him go into round 2, round 3, and really see him get extended in fights. I know Ibusa's cardio is not the best, but we know, and we've seen him go 3 rounds before. So I think this fight could come down to cardio. Another interesting fight dynamic in this matchup is that Ibusa is a lot bigger. He's a lot more physical than Ferreira. He's 6'2". He's got a 6-inch reach advantage. So overall, I'm going to have to pick Ibusa here. Low confidence. I do respect Bruno's explosiveness. I respect his power. I do think he's a very, very dangerous opponent for most guys inside the division. But I have to go with Ibusa here as a low confidence pick, just because I think he does have multiple paths. I think he can also mix up the wrestling. I think he can also mix up the grappling. And I think he can keep his range and strikeout range a bit better. So yeah, Ibusa is going to be the pick. But great fight. Next fight here, we got Mateusz Rębecki versus Orolbai. Now, this fight here with Rębecki, definitely felt like he kind of got fraud checked last fight. He's a southpaw striker. He's a fighter who relies on his physicality. He relies on his hardware. And I do think when it comes to his physicality, his hardware, he is pretty solid in that area. Very, very aggressive. Going to come forward, push a pace, try and take his opponents out. Mix up some offensive wrestling, which is decent as well. But he slows down. Don't trust his cardio. Not convinced with his cardio at all. So I'm going to have to pick Orolbai here. Medium confidence. I just think at some point Orolbai will be able to get his wrestling, grappling going. Even though Rębecki's quite like physically imposing, I just think Orolbai is the natural 170er. So I do believe he's going to have some size. He's going to have some physicality over Rębecki. And I think as the fight progresses, he's just going to be able to get his wrestling and grappling going. So Orolbai is going to be the pick. Next fight here, we got Geoff Neal versus Rafael dos Anjos. Now, this fight here, RDA, true. This guy's a BMF, bruv. To talk about BMF belts, this guy needs a BMF belt. The level of competition this guy's facing inside the division, he's never scared of a fight. He's never scared of taking on the next upcoming prospect. OG of the fight game. Likes to push a pace. Likes to be a grinder. Well-rounded striker. Well-rounded wrestler, grappler. But obviously, there's a ceiling with him. The issue with him at this stage of his career, though, he's starting to get dangerously old. I know he's a guy who probably keeps himself in really, really good shape. Really, really good condition. But I am definitely scared of his sudden drop-off. Just a random one fight. Just looks completely washed. And I did think he shows signs of a drop-off against Gamrot and Vicente Luque. So Neal, it's kind of similar to RDA in a way. I don't think he's looked nowhere near as good as he once did coming off that injury. I don't think he's been the same fighter. At one point, this guy was a highly, highly touted prospect, and I thought rightfully so. Good movement, piston left hand, vicious high kick, can defend takedowns, got good grappling defensive aspect of the game. Even beat Bilal Muhammad back in the day. But I have to pick Geoff Neal here. Low to medium level confidence here, just because I do think RDA is on the decline, and I think Geoff Neal's a hard fight for anyone. He went to a split decision with Ian Gary. And yeah, if we get prime RDA or we get RDA on steroids, I think this fight could play out much more competitive than the line suggests. But I have to go with Geoff Neal here to get the win. Next fight here, we got Ibo Aslan versus Raffael Cerqueira. Sorry, probably butchering that. This fight here, I don't really have too much to say about it because we don't know anything about Raffael. There was like one fight of him. He looks to be a striker. And the guy he was facing wasn't that good. He looked all right, but one fight of footage, I can't really make too much assumptions on him unless you got some inside information. You're around his camp, people around him, maybe you've seen him train. Then you can then I can make a much stronger judgment on his game. But Aslan, on the other hand, mainly a striker, boxing style of striker. This, to me, from a betting perspective, very, very easy pass. I mean, I can't bet Raffael unless, you have information on him. just because, as mentioned, only seen one fight of him, and it was like 5 minutes long. So it's either is Aslan or pass situation for me from a betting perspective. But at the same time, I'm not too big on Aslan as a fighter. So it's going to be a low confidence pick on Aslan. Oh, next fight here, we got Shara Magomedov versus Arman Petrosian. This is easily one of the best fights on the card, bruv. I think this is mainly going to be a striking fight. We got Petrosian, very, very solid kickboxer, good striking fundamentals, good skill, good technique, like his kickboxing skill set. Ground game's a joke though. He's improving, but ground game's a joke. Very weak on the ground. But I think if anyone mixes up the wrestling and the grappling, it's going to be Petrosian in this matchup. He did take down CLD Christian Leroy Duncan briefly. Shara, I think people are giving this guy a bit of a hard time. I know the fight against Tricoli didn't look great. I don't trust his ground game. I think he's really, really weak off his back. And I think if taken down, he's really, really weak. But I really, really like this guy's striking. I think there's something there with the striking. Mainly got like a kicks-based style of striking. Strong striking fundamentals. He's got a wide range of kicking techniques and kicking variety in his arsenal. I think he's just maybe a guy who's not been able to put it 100% together inside the UFC just yet. But I just have a gut feeling one of these days, Shara could just come through and just look like a top 3 guy when it comes to the striking anyways. I mean, the grappling's a joke, with all due respect. Sorry, bro. But striking, really, really like this guy striking. Now, this is a tricky fight to predict, I think. I know there's strong opinions on both sides of the spectrum. I think there could be a possibility that Shara gets floor checked here. But I'm going to pick Shara here. I see it as like a back and forth kickboxing fight where one guy probably just edges it out. But I'm just thinking Shara just finds a way to get the win and just edging it out, especially in the bye. The UFC clearly likes this guy. So low to medium level confidence low confidence on Shara, because striking fights, they can tend to play out quite close, quite competitive, even if there's this huge skill gap in the striking. A lot of these striking fights, they can play out quite competitive. So Shara's going to be the pick. From a betting point of view, I mean, I think there's going to be back and forth action in this fight. I know there's some sharp money on Petrosian, but yeah, I'm going to pick Shara for now. I think 1.6 to 60-40, fairly accurate line. All right, so we go to Liron Murphy versus Dan Ige. Sick fight this. So Murphy, he's a very, very good athlete. He's a fighter who relies on his athleticism, I'd say. He's well-rounded. He can strike. He can mix up the wrestling. He can mix up the grappling as well. Has good movement. I'd say he's like a solid featherweight. Ige as well. I like this guy. Best way I've described Ige over the years is he's a good soldier. Just fight hard for your money. He has decent hardware as a fighter. He can pack a punch. And unless you're that top echelon of guys inside the division, like, he's always going to give you a tough fight, or even will come through, win fights. Overall, in this matchup though, I'm going to have to pick towards Murphy here. I just think he's a little bit more athletic. I think he has a little bit more speed. I think he can possibly mix up some wrestling, mix up some grappling, push Ige up against a clinch. But I know that all the money's been coming on Murphy. I do have some Murphy tickets myself. I've got 1.50. But I'm not as confident as everyone else. It's going to be a low to medium level confidence pick on Murphy for me. I just think he is the more likely victor in this matchup. But Ige, he's a solid soldier, and he packs a punch and he'll fight hard. So it would not surprise me if Ige made it much, much closer, made the line seem a little bit off, or possibly even win the fight. But leaning towards Murphy here, grabbing the decision. All right, so next fight here, we got Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. So, sick fight. I think the line's a little wide. But I think Ankalaev he's elite level fighter, very well-rounded, clean technical striker, and takes more of like a precision approach to the striking game. He can grapple as well. I definitely consider Ankalaev elite, but the issue with that I have with him is sometimes he can, he doesn't make the best in-fight decisions, not grappling when he should, maybe standing too long with certain guys, etc., etc. But I think he is elite, and UFC's definitely not been wanting to give this guy a title shot because they're definitely afraid of him winning, and he's not as marketable as the rest of the guys inside the division. Rakic, I like Rakic, bro. I think he's a very solid fighter himself. I think he's well-rounded. I like his kickboxing, and whenever I see him train his boxing, I'm like, yeah, this guy's got some really, really clean boxing. He can grapple as well, but as mentioned, I do think the line's wide, and I'll probably argue that the betting value is on Rakic, but I just think Ankalaev probably likely just finds a way to grind out the win. But as mentioned, not really in love with the betting price. So I think the fight could play out much more competitive than what people think. But when I analyse the fight, I have a hard time picking against Ankalaev. But I do think Rakic is very, very solid. I do like him as a fighter. So it's going to be a low to medium level confidence pick on Magomed Ankalaev. So we go to the co-main event of the evening. We got Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. Now, fights don't get much more interesting than this. First, make sure to like, share, comment, all that cliche YouTube stuff. Super do appreciate it. Okay, so Khamzat, I think people are giving this guy a hard time, but I think his wrestling is extremely high level. I think his entries are lightning fast. When he gets his opponents down, he's extremely dominant on the ground. He's extremely aggressive on the ground. He goes for the kill. He can look to land ground and pound. He can look to fish for submission, more than like a control grappler. Normally, I like the guys who control the guy and, don't, force grappling exchanges on the ground, because ideally you want to have the control, and then that, if you going for ground and pound, that gives guys opportunities to kind of stand back up. But in this case, I like the aggression from him. People are giving Khamzat a hard time against Usman, but I know Usman's on a decline. I get that. He's a 170er, but to completely, basically ragdoll Usman, take him down with ease, make him look like a child in round one. You got to take down in round two, round three. I hold that in quite high regard. And I really, really, really like Khamzat's wrestling skill set and grappling dominance. He can strike a bit, and his striking has definitely been developing over the years. Maybe a bit hittable, but I think his offense is good. Good boxer, kick a bit. I can't even speak properly. Can kick a bit as well. Obviously, if it's a striking fight between Rob and Khamzat, Khamzat, without question, is outmatched. But I think he's going to go to wrestling gear, go to the grappling. And in that case, maybe that kind of puts Rob, makes him a little bit nervous and opens up Khamzat striking more. But Khamzat needs to go to the wrestling, he needs to go to the grappling. Obviously, I do have concerns about him slowing down. I mean, he did look like he was slowing down against Usman, and he looked like he was kind of fatiguing against Burns, but he fought against Burns. He fought through it. And I think, maybe I look stupid here, but I think his cardio narrative has been a little bit overplayed. I think he can fight hard for at least 3 rounds. And, if he paces himself a bit better against Burns, I think his cardio would hold up a lot better. But yeah, overall, I really, really like Khamzat's wrestling, grappling. I think he has some of the nastiest grappling game inside the division. Now we go to Rob, extremely well-rounded fighter. Absolutely one of the best guys inside the middleweight division. Former champion, high-level striker, great striking, kickboxing, fundamentals, speed, precision. He also has good movement, good footwork, bouncing movement. He's well-rounded fighter, as mentioned, good grappling. But against Dricus, he was getting kind of ragdolled, but offensively, his wrestling and grappling looks good. And, overall, he does have a solid grappling skill set. One thing that always worries me about Rob is his durability. He's been hurt a lot. Now, fight dynamics. Obviously, Whittaker wants to keep the fight standing. Needs to look to defend the takedowns. Look to, if taken down, stay, work his way back under the feet, take the fight into deep waters. I think that's Rob's best chance of winning the fight, and that's his game plan going into the matchup. But I'm gonna have to pick Hamza here. Medium confidence. I just have a gut feeling that Hamza wrestling is just going to be too strong here, and he's going to be able to just like impose his will, secure takedowns, and possibly finish Whittaker early on in round 1, round 2. Obviously, I do have concerns about the cardio narrative, but I think there might be a little bit overplayed, but still going to be in the back of my mind. But I just think the grappling, the wrestling is going to be too dominant, and I have to go with Hamza as the pick here. Medium confidence. I think Rob might have to overcome a big storm from Hamza. Or maybe, this is not going to change my pick, but maybe, Hamza's a little bit more, kind of takes a more cautious approach and, maybe tries to steal rounds with a takedown and with like 1 minute to go type of approach. But overall, I spoke a lot about this fight. I'm just going to move on to the main event. So we go to the main event of the evening. We've got Ilia Topuria versus Max Holloway. Now, fights don't get much better than this, man. We got Topuria here, elite level fighter, bruv. Elite level. High. He has a heavy boxing approach, yeah? And his boxing skills for MMA standards, very high level. Definitely packs a punch as well. He's got like a explosiveness and power and great striking boxing fundamentals. And he uses a lot of steady pressure to stalk down his opponents. And as a boxer, he uses a lot of head movement to evade strikes and uses that as his form of defense. And he can grapple as well, man. He's got a really well-rounded skill set, offensively grappling, can defend takedowns as well. And I liked how he kind of showing he's got heart and toughness and will to win after overcoming that storm against Jai Herbie. He got dropped by a head kick, and you see a lot of prospects at that point kind of will quit, get finished, but he stuck through it and ended up getting a finish. So overall, really like Ilia Topuria. I think he's an elite level fighter. Now Holloway, this guy's one of the all-time greats without question, and is elite as well, bruv. Just heavy boxing approach as well, similar to Ilia, but he's more of a volume guy, but his boxing skills, I really like his boxing skills as well. Just really good technique, really good boxing skills. He's able to push a very high pace, and his chin made out of iron. He's vulnerable to the low kick because of how heavy he is, and maybe I think Topuria is going to look to go to the low kick as well. Another thing about Ilia Topuria's game that I do like is a low calf kick. I think that's really nasty, And also another concerns I do have with Max is his chin, the weight cut, and the amount of strikes he's taken to the head over the years. I think Ilia has the more powerful strikes in his fight. He's the one with probably the grappling upside in this matchup. And I think he's the one who could definitely make improvements fight to fight as well, just because of his age and his potential. And he could just come out dead Max, knock him out clean quite easily just because his boxing skill set and his boxing technique. This is a tricky fight. I know everyone's mega confident in Ilia, and I know he's an elite level fighter, but Max is world class as well. Max is one of the best to ever do it in the game. Just got an excellent skill set, and I think at plus 200, I mean, I think the value is on Max, from a value perspective. Obviously, I don't want this to be a cop-out, but I'm not saying Ilia can't win. If he comes out wins, it will not shock me at all. But I feel like this price is a little bit disrespectful. Plus 200, 3.0. Ilia almost, 70% implied odds. If I was going to bet Ilia, I'd much rather want that 1.6, 1.7, those type of lines. So I'm going to pick Max here. I'm going to go against the grain. I'm going to go against the market. I just think this guy's elite. I think he's world class. I think he's one of the best to ever do it. And one of the reasons why I'm picking him is because of the betting line. I think to be getting someone this elite at this kind of line is disrespectful. So that's what's leaning me towards the Max Holloway side. But as mentioned, I don't want this to be a cop-out, but Ilya is world-class. He's elite level. He's got excellent boxing fundamentals. He could just come out, knock Max out. It would not surprise me one bit. So really, really complex, tricky fight in my opinion. Just two world-class elite level fighters going at it. And yeah, end of the breakdown. Super duper appreciate everyone tuning in. And yeah, thank you once again for all the support. Super duper appreciate it. All the nice messages, all the nice comments you guys leave. And yeah, any more parting words? I guess good bankroll management, good risk management, all that cliche stuff. Long-term game. Try not to get too high, try not to get too low if you lose. I guess I'll go over the card one more time, quickly, briefly. Aslan versus Raffael, pass, but Aslan, just more footage on him. Naurdiev versus Silva, not 100% convinced with Naurdiev, but Bruno Silva could just be washed. So, yeah. Renato versus Carlos. I think Carlos is a good striker, but I think at some point Renato's just going to be able to get his grappling going. Farid versus Victor Hugo Silva. I think Farid's a top prospect. I really, really like his game. I think he's going to get his grappling going. Kennedy versus Barnett. Don't trust Kennedy's chin. I don't want to bet him, but he should be the more likely winner. A boost versus Ferreira. I'm going to have a slight lean towards a boost in that one. Orolbai versus Rębecki. I think Orolbai gets his grappling going at some point. Neal versus RDA. I think it's Neal's time, and I think RDA is on the way out, so Neal's going to be the pick. Petrosian versus Shara, probably going to be a close fight, but I have a slight lean towards Shara. Magomedov versus Ankalaev. I think the line might be a tad bit wide, but I can't really pick against Ankalaev. Murphy versus Ige. Another one where I think the line might be getting a little bit out of hand, but I'm leaning towards Murphy. Hamzat versus Whitaker. I can't really pick against Hamzat. I'm going to have to go with him. I think the wrestling might be too strong. And Ilya versus Max, obviously elite level world class fight where I can see either fighter winning, but I think the line's a bit mad and I think the line value's on him, so I'm going to pick Max. So yeah, super duper appreciate it. Signing out.